Greg Ehrenberg here with Adam Scherer, and we've got a pretty interesting NBA injury report for Friday. And it's not quite the same volume of names that we've had on recent slates, but it's really significant names, which does open up a lot of value and brings up some interesting talking points. So I'm pretty excited to play this slate and also talk about some of these situations. Before we get into it, do us a favor, guys, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if anything happens during the day, anybody gets added to the injury report, taken off, you have any questions, leave us a comment below so I can go back and answer it later on in the day. And let's get into some of these news. Basically, everything that we see here on the injury report, pretty hard hitting, starting with the Utah Jazz. Rudy Gobert is out. We've got Bogdanovich out. Conley's out. Mitchell is out. That comes in addition to Gay, Clarkson, Royce O'Neal, and Whiteside all being questionable. There's too many variables here to know exactly who it is that's going to be the individual value plays. But at least as of now, who are the guys that are drawing the most interest from you?
Yeah, and we do know that O'Neal, Whiteside, and Clarkson all went through shoot around. Rudy Gay did not. It's worth keeping in mind that Whiteside also went through shoot around the other day and then didn't play. So I don't know how much that means. But the way I'm viewing it basically is if you are a normal member of the Utah Jazz rotation and you are active tonight, you are a very good play. If Whiteside is in, he looks like the best combination of upside and, upside for salary, I guess, if you want to put it that way, at center. Jordan Clarkson has a 34% usage rate without Conley or Mitchell on the floor. He'd look fantastic. O'Neal, if he's in, looks good given the fact that they're shorthanded. Rudy Gay would look fantastic if he's in. So any of those guys, just if they're in, play them. Trent Forrest is probably going to play a lot. He's cheap. How much he plays is dependent on who exactly is out. But yeah, pretty much if you're active and you're someone that has played in the rotation this year, you are probably going to be a good DFS play.
And there's not a lot of those guys for the Utah Jazz. In fact, if you get Whiteside, Gay, Clarkson, O'Neal all out, just kind of for fun, who would you guess leads the team in usage in that situation? Trent Forrest?
Him or Eric Pascal? Pascal was actually like a 22% usage guy with Golden State.
Yeah, that is true, and obviously not a great real life player, so he's not there. But definitely some interesting situations. Not anything that I want to hold you to, but I just kind of thought that was a fun question to throw out with all the guys that are out for Utah. Next team, the Milwaukee Bucks. They've got Jrue Holiday now in the health and safety protocols. That comes in addition to Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, and George Hill all being out. So is this just a slate where we could feel pretty comfortable getting to Giannis and Middleton with no Jrue?
Yeah, I think a little bit more so for me on Giannis than Middleton. The reason being, we actually have about, I think it's 14 games since the start of last year that Holiday has been out and Middleton and Giannis have both been active. Giannis has averaged 1.8 fantasy points per minute, but he's also averaged 34.7 minutes per game. And that's really important because Giannis always produces at a high rate or, averages a high rate regardless of who he's playing with. But typically he plays several minutes less on average than the other players priced around him. That's not likely to be the case tonight in a what should be a competitive game against Brooklyn, but also, you're just missing Holiday, you're missing all these other guys. There's more minutes available and it's more likely that the game's competitive. Middleton, on the other hand, I think is still a high upside option, but he doesn't get quite as much of a bump. I don't think he typically, gives you 33, 34 minutes anyway. He probably plays 35 or 36 now, but his usage rate, his assist percentage in the games without Holiday and with Giannis is still in line with what you typically get. So I think Middleton's fine. But I actually think Giannis gets the bigger bump.
Yep, no issue with that whatsoever. And there's a whole bunch of value on the slate, so it's not like it's going to be that difficult to pay up for Giannis when we finally get to lock. Next hard hitting piece of injury news: the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic is a doubtful Luka Doncic with an ankle injury, and this is different. Like you had pointed out yesterday, when guys are doubtful, it's different when they're doubtful because they're in the COVID protocols versus doubtful because of an actual injury. This is more of a legitimate. We don't expect Luka to play, not some situation where he could test himself back into the game. That comes in addition to Kristaps Porzingis being out. He is still in the health and safety protocols, probably not returning until early next week or so. With both of the key guys out for the Dallas Mavericks, is this just another spot where we're going back to Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, especially, I mean, on FanDuel, he's $5,300, which is insane. He's projected for something like 80% ownership, and it's fully deserved. On DraftKings, he's 7K, so not getting quite as much ownership, but still underpriced. He's averaged about 1.1 fantasy points per minute without Luka this year. He should play a ton of minutes. And then you also are going to get a high usage spot for Tim Hardaway. He's going to look very good. Somebody like Maxi Kleber, who played 35 minutes last game, is inexpensive, and Porzingis is still out. He's going to look pretty good. So if you're starting for Dallas, you're a viable play, maybe with the exception of Dwight Powell, just because center is absolutely loaded today. But Hardaway, Brunson, Finney Smith, Kleba all look good, assuming Luka doesn't play.
The NBA injury report is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. If you are unfamiliar with Yahoo, have not signed up yet, go sign up using the link in the description box below. You head on over to Yahoo, make a deposit, enter a contest. You get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, where you find all the tools that you need to make money and become a profitable player playing DFS on Yahoo. But that also covers all the tools we have for DraftKings and FanDuel, and not just for basketball, but for basically every single DFS sport out there. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. All right, a couple more injuries to get to, and once again, all ones that are pretty significant. For the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young, John Collins, Bogdanovic, they are all questionable to play. I'm kind of surprised that Trae Young ended up sitting out last game for whatever reason. I just kind of thought he was going to ultimately end up playing. Didn't end up being the case. We saw Delon Wright get extended minutes again. What can we expect from the Hawks if all of these guys sit, and Trae Young in particular?
Yeah, I expect him to play last game too. And if they all sit, I think you can kind of just expect what we saw last game. Delon Wright played 40 minutes. Cam Reddish played 37. Herter came off the bench, played 33. I don't know if he would come off the bench again, but certainly could, and you would still expect him to be in the closing lineup. TLC started and played 36 minutes. That doesn't have to be the case. Gallinari only played 27 and a half. I think in a lot of times you play that game out, Gallo's getting into the low to mid 30s at the expense of TLC. But the point would remain that Delon Wright, Cam Reddish, Gallo, Herter all would be likely to play a lot of minutes and soak up a lot of usage.
And the final team to hit on the Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum remain out. We've got Larry Nance out. I also think there's a really good chance that Jusuf Nurkic ends up getting suspended. If you guys missed what happened last game, he set a hard screen on Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero took exception to it. Tyler Hero pushes Nurkic in the back. Nurkic kind of tried to just delete Tyler Hero from existence, but some players got in the way. So just kind of ended up being like an open hand bitch slap that Nurkic hit Tyler Hero with. That aside, this seems to me like a situation where the NBA would issue a suspension for Nurkic. Just speculation on my point. There's nothing official on that, but where does the usage go with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum out? And then if Nurkic does end up sitting, who do you think eats up the center minutes?
Yeah, so I'm with you. I was kind of surprised we hadn't heard anything yet. So for right now, I'm just assuming he plays. But if he doesn't, I guess it's probably Covington. It ends up being really weird because Cleveland has this massive front court, and then if Nurkic is out, you have Zeller, who may or may not be in shape to play, and you just kind of have no centers outside of like Trendon Watford and guys that aren't gonna you wouldn't think are gonna play a lot. So I assume you would just get small Portland lineups, and Jared Allen will grab every rebound in existence, and it'll be a really interesting game. But if Nurkic is in, he looks fantastic. He has a usage rate around 30% without McCollum and Lillard on the floor this year. So he would soak up a lot of it. Norman Powell has a usage rate, actually has the highest usage rate on the team without Lillard and McCollum in. So he would soak up some usage. He's also relatively expensive, but and scoring dependent, but he would shoot a lot. And then you just get, Anthony Simons, Nas Little, Macklemore, just filling in the gaps usage wise, I think.
Yep. And Anthony Simons, he's obviously been somebody who's been pretty prominent in DFS over the last couple of weeks. His price has gone up a little bit. Any concern with the uptick in price? There's still somebody who think there's value to playing him.
For Simons?
Yeah, Simons.
I'm concerned with the uptick in the sense that it just makes him riskier. Like when he was 4,100, it was and starting, it was kind of just like, okay, like I don't know how he fails barring injury. 5,300 was kind of the same thing. 6,200, you're at least getting to a price range where there are some alternatives that are close enough in price that can beat him. But at the same time, in the couple of games that he's played recently with all of these guys out, he's approached 40 minutes or reached 40 minutes in both games. So there's no real reason to think that he's not giving you at least 36 minutes or so. And he's still likely to get around a fantasy point per minute.
That'll do it for us today, guys. Before you leave, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Good luck and have a good week.